I'm Dr. Seena Paul from Sri M.D. Shah Mahila College of Arts and Commerce, Mumbai. Today we are here to discuss what are the problems which are faced by a woman in a trade union. The module number is 11. Now what are the objectives in doing this chapter? To make the reader understand about the problem faced by a woman in a trade union. Now in the course of the chapter we are going to look in what is the meaning of a trade union, definition given by various experts of a trade union. Then we will be looking at the history of trade union all over the world. It will cover the origin of trade union in UK. We are going to look in what is the situation of trade union in India. Then after dealing with the history of trade union all over the world, we will be coming closer to India. Further, we will be also looking at what is the position of women in a trade union. After dealing with all this, we are going to look in what are the problems which are faced by women in a trade union, because when we look at the share of women in a trade union, we will realize that the share of women in a trade union is very marginal. Now let's understand what is a trade union. As I've said, various experts have given various definitions of a trade union. In common man's language, what is a trade union? Trade union are understood as voluntary organization of workers as well as employers, formed to protect and promote the interest of their members. They are best suited for balancing and improving the relationship between the employer and the employee. One of the most quoted definition of trade union is provided by Sidney and Beatrice Webb. The definition was given in 1965. According to this definition, a trade union, as we understand the term, is a continuous association of wage earners for the purpose of maintaining or improving the condition of their working lives. After looking at the definition of a trade union, now let's look at the history of a trade union movement all over the globe. Trade union movement, if you go to technically see, originated in the 14th century with the outbreak of trade union movement in England. However, as an organized movement, trade union originated only in the 19th century in the Great Britain, continental Europe and in the United States. In India, trade union has known history of over 100 years. The earliest trade union movement in India was the Bombay Mill Hand Association, which was formed in 1890. It was followed by the formation of Amalgamated Society of Railway Servants of India and Burma in 1897. Beginning of the 19th century, we saw a spurt in the trade union activity all over India. However, all these organizations which were formed in the early part of the 19th century were ad hoc bodies and could hardly be regarded as a trade union in the modern sense of the term. But things started changing with the outbreak of the First World War and certain other national and international events which saw a surge in the nationalist movement in India, such as Russian Revolution of 1917 and the establishment of ILO saw the beginning of the labor movement in the true modern sense. Madras Labour Union was the first organized trade union which was established in India. Decade following the end of the First World War saw greater demand for the coordination of activities among the individual union. This demand led to the formation of All Indian Trade Union Congress, and which was established in 1920. The second central trade union which was established was Centre Labour Board Bombay 1922, All Indian Railway Federation 1922 and the Bengal Trade Union Federation 1922. So all these three organizations came up in the year 1922. Another important landmark in the history of Indian trade union movement was the enactment of Indian Trade Union Act 1926. The enactment of the act was the consistent effort put forward by Shri N.M. Joshi, then General Secretary of All Indian Trade Union Congress. In March 1921, Shri N.M. Joshi successfully moved a resolution in the Central Legislative Assembly recommending that the government should introduce legislation for the registration and the protection of trade unions in India. However, as expected, employers in India were in not favor of the adoption of this legislation. They vigorously opposed the enactment of the legislation. As a result, it took more than 5 years for the enactment of this act. Now, what are the main points of this act? This act summarizes all the modalities pertaining to the registration of trade union, decision of trade related disputes. That act set guidelines for both the workers as well as for the employers. The act deals with the registration of trade union, their rights, their liabilities, their responsibilities, as well as it ensures that their funds are properly utilized. It gives legal and corporate status to the registered trade union. It also seeks to protect them from civil or criminal prosecution so that they can carry out their legitimate activities for the benefit of the working class. The act is applicable not only to the workers' trade union, but it is also applicable to the Association of Employers. It extends to the whole of India. After the independence, the trade union movement in India took a different turn. It took a political line. At the time of independence, there were only two Central Federation of Trade Union in the country, namely AITUC and the INTUC. But the desire of the political parties and their distinct group to influence the working class and the trade union movement led to the formation of a newer Central Federation of Trade Union. Each of these were conceived to be platforms that provide footholds to the different political parties and groups. By 1955, there was a surge in the Central Federation. By 1955, 5 Central Trade Union organizations were operating in the country, and each were the arm of different political parties. The trade unions which were operating in India, Central Trade Union which were operating in India at that point of time was All Indian Trade Union Congress, which was established in 1920 and was regarded as an arm of the Communist Party of India. Then we had INTUC, which is regarded as an arm of Congress Party. Then another Central Trade Union which was established, that was in 1948, that was known as Hind Mazdoor Sabha, and it was an arm of Socialist Party. United Trade Union Congress, which was established in 1949, it was an offshoot of the Revolutionary Socialist Party in India. Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh was established in 1955, which was considered as an arm of Bharatiya Janata Party. With the adoption of the planned economic activity and an emergence of new undertakings in the private sector, the trade union activity in the country received a spurt, which consequently resulted in the expansion of number of registered trade union. As of now, the Ministry of Labour has recognized 12 Central Trade Union organization and registered 84,642 trade unions in India. Out of the registered trade union, only 9,709 trade union are currently submitting its return to the government. The total membership of these registered trade unions stood at 95,73,000 in 2008, out of which percentage of women is very marginal, that is 22.5%. Despite a large expansion in registered trade union, there are signs of waning attraction towards Central Trade Union, decrease in unionization, emergence of independent trade unions that are not affiliated to Central Trade Union but are associated with political parties, and so on. Now, after looking at the story of trade union movement in India, now let's come what is the position of women and trade union in India. As said before, the share of women in the registered trade union is very low. India has a strong workforce of over 481 million, out of which 149 million are women. This is as far as the census 2011. The majority of these women are employed in the rural sector and they work as agricultural laborers. 55.21% of the total agriculture workers in India is made up of female workers. Even though the share of the female workforce in the total workforce is significant, but the participation of women in the trade union movement has been historically low, and this share in the trade union membership is only 22.5%. This phenomena is not Indian centric. This phenomena is visible all over the globe. Whether it is a developed country or it is an underdeveloped country, the story remains the same. According to Susan Haitia and Valentia Sosakia in their study in 2011, speaks about the statistical indicators on trade union density of 77 countries and statistical indicators on collective bargaining of 62 countries. According to this study, most of the countries, in comparison to women, more men are members of trade union. Another worldwide study which was carried out by ILO and ICFTU in 2000 on all ICFTU members and international trade secretariats at the end of the 1990s, the report also reproduces the same fact, the fact that the participation of women in the trade union is very low. Not only is the women's share in the trade union membership is low, but the participation of women in the decision-making bodies of trade union is also very low. Various studies have confirmed these facts. For example, a cross-national study undertaken by Queen Mary College, University of London in the year of 2012 found that both in UK and in USA, women still have fewer top position in trade unions despite growth in overall female membership. The result of the study indicated that among UK's 10 larger unions, only 4 women are serving as general secretaries. In USA, even though women representation has increased since the 1970s, men continue to take the topmost union position.
Berenice is one of 1,500 participants at the World Congress of the International Trade Union World Confederation, which takes place every 4 years.
We have things to do. We have lots to be done in terms of our youth activities and our youth work, right? We cannot avoid
the median age in the Philippines is 23, but the economic upturn in the country is scarcely reaching young people. The hourly wage at McDonald's is the same as the price of a hamburger. Stephanie from Germany, Freda from Ghana and Berenice from the Philippines confer on how to motivate young people to join trade unions.
Graduates. So that's one of our
So people don't really know what the unions would do, that they can protect them, they give them the right information, rights, capacity building.
And what are the sacrifices and struggle of the labor movement
and
for
the achievements
them.
that they have made
For us.
in the collective bargaining over the
Wages, vacation pay, safety standard for workers. The list of issues the World Trade Unions address is long.
In 9 major US unions with significant female membership, women comprise only 24% of the top labor leaders, but in none of these unions does the female proportion of leaders reflect membership rates. Another study which was carried out by Wallon Sociology Group in the year 1999 among the various organizations affiliated to the European Trade Union Confederation. According to the report, despite an increase in the number of women in decision-making bodies between 1993 and 1919, there is gross underrepresentation of women in the trade union decision-making levels. Till now we saw that the participation of women in trade union is very low. Not only the participation of trade union in women low, the participation of women in the decision making bodies is also low. Another fact which emerges is, even in the trade union where the membership of women is on the higher side, the participation of women in the decision making body is very poor. For example, in a study done by Education International in 2009 and 10, they have conducted a survey among its member organization. Member organization of Education International or organization of teachers and other education employee across the globe. The survey report indicated almost 2/3 of the union that responded to the survey had between 50 to 80% of the female members, but the percentage of women who were holding the leadership position in the period between 1995 and 2005 was less than 36%. Also, the pattern of more power, fewer women was visible in all the regions of the globe, and the pattern was the strongest in Africa and Latin American countries, where the percentage of women in the membership is twice as high as the percentage of women in executive board.
La lucha popular.
Sarkar and Bhaumik in 1998 studied 157 workers in the plantation industry in North Bengal to ascertain the involvement of women workers in the trade union. They observed that though women form half of the workforce in the plantation, they have remained marginalized in the trade union of plantation workers. Of the 157 women workers, only 17% women regularly attended union meeting and participated in the meeting, and only 17 women hardly ever took in the negotiation with the employers or conciliation talks between government and the employers. The study conducted by the ILO and ICFTU in 2000 also confers that there is no proportional representation for women in the trade union management. The study emphasized that women held less than 1/3 of the senior decision making posts in over 60% of the trade union. Why such a low percentage of women in the trade union activity? There are certain problems which are faced by women in the trade union activity. We are going to check in what are the factors which hinder the women participation in the trade union activity. Few women enroll as trade union members and even fewer participate in the decision making bodies of trade union. Hence, trade unions have generally been dominated by male members. The problem faced by women in the course of the participation in the trade union activities are as follows. The first, society is strongly biased against women participating in the trade union. These are conveyed in many ways, and attempts are also made to dissuade them from taking part in the trade union responsibility. The male-dominated nature of the trade union is also stumbling block for women trade union members. The trade unions are often male-dominated because of the following factor. A. The trade union activity is not restricted to normal working hours. Many a times the meetings are held after the working hour. So it becomes difficult for a woman to take part in these meetings, and also these meetings are not held within the premises of the working place. The meetings are held far off, and to reach there it becomes difficult for a women leader. And another problem is usage of union jargon in an improper language, which also act as a dampener for women members. Informal male structure also create hurdles for women members. Little encouragement is offered by trade union for the promotion of women member. Trade unions are also less enthusiastic to taking up women issues in their agenda. Another problem, in India and across the globe, generally women have to shoulder higher family responsibility in comparison to men. They are expected to rear their child, cook food and serve their elderly members in the family. Given this situation, a woman who is active in a trade union has to take up three responsibilities. One, as a member of the family, second, as a member of a trade union, and three, as a member of an organization. Religious taboos and cultural innovations make it difficult for women to break into male environment. This is because women are often socialized to play a subordinate role to men, which result a lack of confidence among women when it comes to assuming public and leadership role. In the workplace, women are often employed in the subordinate position under the supervision of men in power. The occupational segregation in union structure create barriers for their advancement. The fact that large number of women are found in just a few occupational groups result in only a few women being represented on the committees and bargaining teams. Also, it's difficult for women in a low status job to represent workers in a higher grade. Another biggest fear of women working in a trade union is the fear of losing job, fear of retaliation by the employers, which also holds her back in taking part in the trade union activity. Another point which acts as a dampener for women taking part in the trade union activity is her lack of knowledge about the benefits of the trade union membership, her lack of interest in trade union activity, and her attitude of staying back in the background at work also prevents her from taking devoted interest in the trade union activity. Now let's summarize what we have learnt in today's chapter. A trade union organization is a voluntary organization of workers as well as employers formed to protect and promote the interests of their members. A trade union which originated in the 14th century in England, but as an organized movement, trade union originated only in the 19th century in Great Britain, which spread to continental Europe and in United States. In India, trade unions had a history of more than 100 years. In 1926, the Indian Trade Union Act was enacted, which summarized all the modalities pertaining to registration of trade union to decision of trade union disputes. After the independence of India, the trade union movement became generally divided on political lines. With the adoption of planned economic activity and the emergence of new undertakings in the private sector, trade union activity in the country received a spurt which consequently resulted in the expansion of number of registered trade union in the country. The total membership of registered trade unions stood at 95,73,000 in 2008, out of which percentage of women membership is only 22.5%. Even though the share of female workforce in the total workforce is significant, but the participation of women in the trade union movement is historically low. Their share in the trade union membership is only 22.5%. Not only women's share in the trade union membership is low, but the participation of women in the decision making bodies of trade union is also low. It is a phenomena that exists all over the world. It is in the problem is there in the developed country as well as in the developing country. Now why women are not participating in the trade union activity, as the problem is there both in the developed and the developing country? To summarize few of the problem: strong bias against women participating in trade union, religious taboos, cultural inhibition, male dominated nature of the trade union, family responsibility, fear of retaliation from employers, women's lack of knowledge about the benefits of trade union membership, their lack of interest in trade union activity, an attitude of staying back in the background at work. occupational segregation in union structures create barriers for women's advancement in trade union. Thank you.